A Western Conference Finals appearance in the 2013-14 OHL season reignited the hockey town of Erie, Pennsylvania. The fan base backed the new era of Otters hockey to a record-setting year while turning out in droves, setting a franchise mark for attendance. Although the disappointment of an opportunity lost burned through the offseason, that same passion was ready to boil over into the next season with one goal on the agenda. There were multiple changes to the team on and off the ice that would need addressed prior to training camp. A new assistant coach was needed after the departure of Chris Hartsburg. In came longtime NHL defenseman Jay McKee to join Chris Knobloch's staff as defensive assistant along with Vince Lacey. On the ice, 7 major pieces from the previous season's squad moved on from the OHL as Erie lost a total of 217 goals from their highest scoring team in franchise history. With the graduation of Connor Brown to the AHL, a new captain was needed for the first time in 2 years. At just 17 years old, Connor McDavid was tabbed as one of the Otters veterans as he entered his 3rd OHL season. He was the unanimous choice and was named the 10th full-time captain in team history on the morning of the league's opening night. He would lead a handful of new faces that would join Erie's hungry core for the next campaign. In all, 11 first-year players were in the lineup as they kicked off the new season in Saginaw, in the same building the Otters closed down the previous March. The Otters got out of the gate to a hot start, going 13-1-0-1 in their first 15 games, taking control of the Midwest Division. The rookies made their mark and held their own, but a few reinforcements on the blue line were on their way. Corey Genovese led the defense corps early on as the resident overage blue liner, but Erie received some unexpected calls as reinforcements were on the way. Veteran Erie D-man Troy Dene was to be returned to the Otters from the New York Rangers AHL affiliate Hartford Wolfpack early in the year. Curtis McDermott, last season's trade deadline acquisition, was also being sent to Erie from Los Angeles Kings affiliate the Manchester Monarchs. In one fell swoop, the Otters had one of the biggest and baddest blue lines around. The season was filled with highlights, with one of the first coming in late October. The Otters partnered with the Buffalo Sabres of the NHL to move one of their home games to the First Niagara Center in Buffalo, New York. There was buzz around the rink Wednesday the 22nd when the Niagara Ice Dogs made the even shorter trip across the border to Buffalo to meet the Otters. Hockey fans came from all over to watch the future dazzle in an NHL building as Erie tamed the Ice Dogs 8-4 in front of 11,391 in attendance, nearly double the capacity of the Erie Insurance Arena. This Otters team faced adversity early and often during the campaign as they lost their captain to the so-called punch heard round the hockey world. With McDavid out for the foreseeable future, the Otters marched on. They maintained their division lead for the 20 games without the star center, while second-year forward Dylan Strome began his run for the league's scoring title. Despite the hand injury, McDavid continued to work on the ice with the World Junior Championship on the horizon being held in Toronto and Montreal. He'd missed nearly a month and a half of game action before taking the ice with Team Canada in pre-tournament action. It seemed natural to him as McDavid quickly regained game speed, helping lead Canada to its 16th gold medal at the World Junior Championship while tying for the tournament lead with 11 points in 7 games played. Erie began the arms race amongst contenders with the acquisition of forward Nick Baptiste from the Sudbury Wolves. The right-handed shot and proven goal scorer was the first move made in the run for the Western Conference. Erie swooped in before the trade deadline to add even more depth to its forward unit by acquiring Jake Marchment and Remy Ellie from the Belleville Bulls days before the deadline. Marchment gave the Otters the rugged, veteran forward they believed they were missing in last year's conference final. Remy Ellie, the Bulls' leading scorer the previous year, was another top 6 forward added to the Otters' arsenal, giving them one of the most potent offenses in the league. The march for the postseason was on, with the Otters in the driver's seat of the Midwest Division race. And on February 7th, in front of a sold-out Erie Insurance Arena, Erie took a commanding division lead with a 4-2 victory over rival London Knights. But there was more to that win than just 2 points. The victory marked Erie Otters head coach Chris Knobloch's 100th win behind the bench for the team, just the 3rd Otters head coach to reach the century mark. Erie finished off the regular season with a 10-game winning streak, outscoring opponents 58-26, as the Otters capped off their highest scoring season in team history, netting 331 goals. Amidst that streak, Erie clinched their first division title since 2002 with a 5-3 win over the Barry Colts at the Barry Molson Center. The Otters also boasted a few individual efforts that took their place in the history books in the regular season finale in St. Catharines, Ontario. Dylan Strome entered the day trailing Mitch Marner of the London Knights by 3 points for the OHL scoring title. Not only did the second-year center overtake the league lead, but his 4-goal and 6-point performance supplanted Connor Brown's single-season record of 128 points by 1. Strome's 129-point campaign brought him the Eddie Powers Memorial Trophy as the league's top scorer. He wasn't the only Otter setting records, as off-season free agent signee Alex DeBrincat rewrote the Otters' rookie record book. His 6-point afternoon against the Ice Dogs, combined with his 50th goal of the season the night before, helped him become just the 5th under-18-year-old rookie to record 50 goals and 100 points in OHL history, joining Wayne Gretzky amongst others. The 8-7 decision against Niagara gave Erie their 50th win of the season for the second straight year, but it was now on to the real season. The first round of the playoffs pitted the Otters against the Sarnia Sting, the 7th seed. The Sting struck first as they took Game 1 3-2, which all of a sudden had experts wondering about Erie's contender status. But the panic button was quickly released following Game 2 the next night. After a scoreless first, the Otters regained their scoring touch with 3 goals in the second. Connor McDavid opened the scoring with his first of the postseason, then Remy Elie and Nick Baptiste followed suit to give Erie a 3-0 lead. Sarnia couldn't muster up enough offense as Erie's defense was back to full strength with the return of Troy Dene from suspension. The 3-1 final evened the series at 1, heading to the RBC Center. The Sting continued their strong game plan into Game 3. They hopped out to a 2-0 lead in the first period before Dylan Strome notched his first of the postseason before the buzzer. An inspired Otters team came out to begin the second as deadline acquisition Jake Marchment etched his name in Erie playoff history. In just his second OHL playoff game, Marchment would score the fastest hat trick in team history, netting all 3 of his tallies in just 3 minutes, 23 seconds. Strome added his second of the night during that stretch to give the Otters a 5-2 lead, but like most of the series, Sarnia kept buzzing. They added 1 in the second to draw to within 2 and eventually tied the game early in the third. There wouldn't be a need for overtime as Erie, like they've done all season, found more offense when needed. Connor McDavid would score unassisted midway through the third to regain a 1-goal lead. The defense slammed the door shut for the remainder of regulation as Erie grabbed their first series lead 2-1. The RBC Center was packed again to see what could be the last time their team took the ice that season. The Sting knew it also as they bolted out of the gate to take a 3-0 lead in the first period, bringing in backup goaltender Daniel DeKoning for his first OHL playoff action. DeKoning was solid throughout, stopping 17 shots and allowing his team to start the climb out of the hole they dug themselves in. It would start with a spark from rookie Kyle Maximovich, who finally got Erie on the board in the second period on a gritty individual effort. To the final period they went, and the Otters needed just 1 minute and 11 seconds to tie the game. Travis Dermott showcased his offensive prowess with an end-to-end rush, then wiring the puck past Sarnia goalie Taylor Dupuis. 25 seconds later, Connor McDavid would center the puck towards the front of the net to see it deflect off of 2014 first-round pick Taylor Radish for his first playoff goal, tying the game at 3. Game 4 needed overtime, and Erie sported a roster that had no playoff overtime game-winning goal scorers. A new hero was about to step up, much like he did throughout the year. Dylan Strome took an Alex DeBrincat pass and got a shot on goal. Dupuis made the stop, but the rebound came right back to Strome to bury the game winner and give Erie a stranglehold on the series. After all the tension in the first 4 games, it seemed that Erie quite possibly had found the floodgates after stealing 2 in Sarnia. They'd open them up in Game 5, starting with Dylan Strome's 4th of the postseason at 13:29 of the first. Nick Baptiste found the back of the net twice in the first 5 minutes of the second as Erie led 3-0. Sarnia couldn't muster much else the rest of the way as Erie poured it on. Jake Marchment added another in the second period, then Dermott, McDavid, and Patrick Murphy added some gravy on top as the Otters ended the Sting season in a 7-0 dismantling. Devin Williams was starting to find his groove as he recorded his 3rd postseason shutout, the most by any goalie in Otters playoff history. Next up was a familiar rival as the spotlight shifted to the Western Conference semifinals. The London Knights have bounced the Otters from the postseason 3 previous times in their history. This star-studded matchup had most thinking it was a toss-up to see who would play the Sioux Greyhounds in the conference final. But Erie had one thing on their mind since disposing of Sarnia 7-0: domination. It was London who opened the scoring, with Mitch Marner and Max Domi giving the Knights a 2-0 lead by early in the second. But Erie was no stranger to comebacks at this point, and special teams plowed the way. Dylan Strome scored for a 4th consecutive game to halve the deficit in the second. Then came the penalty kill unit for Erie. Using their assets to their advantage, Erie was generating more offense down a man than London was up a man. Nick Baptiste would tie the game with a shorty at 14:41. Then, not to be outdone, Connor McDavid had a shorthanded effort of his own to give the Otters their first lead of the game at 3-2. When the dust settled, Erie scored 5 unanswered goals as Alex DeBrincat and Connor McDavid added insurance in the third as the Otters led the series 1-0. Changes were needed for both rosters as Erie lost Mason Marchment and Curtis McDermott to suspension stemming from Game 1. London lost 2 of their potent scorers in Max Domi and Mitch Marner. Now was the time for Erie to strike with the Knights missing Paladins. With the stage set, a history-making performance was ready to be seen at the Erie Insurance Arena. Connor McDavid would electrify the crowd, starting with his first of the night coming on a face-off win from Quentin Maximovich 5 minutes into the game. He followed that up with his second of the night with 45 seconds left on the clock in the first period. McDavid completed the hat trick in the second period as Erie led 3-0. Jake Marchment continued his offensive production with his 5th of the playoffs before Remy Ellie helped McDavid score his 4th of the night to give the Otters a 5-0 lead after 2 periods. London would make things interesting in the third by climbing within 2, but McDavid would dazzle again to end the comeback. McDavid entered the zone with Remy Ellie and fed him the perfect pass on the back door, but missed the net. McDavid found the rebound on the end of the boards, tucked the puck between his legs, and sent it to the back of the net. The first 5-goal night in team history as McDavid outscored the Knights by himself. Erie was headed to London with a 2-0 lead after a 7-3 victory in Game 2. It was more of the same for the Otters in Game 3. Special teams again powered the Otters to the lead. Travis Dermott netted his 3rd of the postseason from McDavid and Baptiste a little over 5 minutes into the game. The goaltenders held down the fort in the second with Williams stomping 13 shots in the middle frame. The offense found itself again in the third as Erie poured it on. McDavid set up Nick Betts on a sweet backdoor dish for his first career OHL playoff goal. Then, Jake Marchment found a Kyle Maximovich centering feed and buried his 6th of the playoffs. Alex DeBrincat regained his scoring touch as Ellie and McDavid set him up for a wicked one-timer in the slot to put Erie out of reach as Game 3 ended 4-1. Erie was looking to complete just their 2nd playoff series sweep in team history, and this time against their arch-rival. A scoreless first period, despite Erie pressing, added to the drama entering the final 40 minutes of regulation. London struck first, but Erie had a knack of answering goals when Dylan Strome tied the game at 1 5 minutes later. The tie lasted all of 36 seconds before Max Domi regained a London lead. Erie was getting goal scoring from all lines as depth again chipped in with Kyle Maximovich prodding the puck across the goal line after a Baptiste net drive to tie the game before the period ended. Tension filled the sold-out building of over 9,000, and in the waning minutes, another rookie made his stamp on the game. Taylor Radish was stationed in front of the goaltender when Troy Dene tossed the puck to the net. Radish waved his stick, deflected the puck, changing the angle just enough to knuckle past the Knights' tender. Erie now leads 3-2 with just under 4 minutes to play. Dermott and McDavid added empty netters to seal the deal as the Knights were defeated. Their season over by a sweep for the first time since 2006. It was back-to-back Western Conference final appearances for the Otters, but 2015 was the year for unfinished business. Standing in front of them was a juggernaut in the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, the team that seemingly added every big name available at the trade deadline. The Otters were given no chance in the series, especially after being tamed 6-3 in Game 1 at the SR Center, as Greyhound fans already planning the parade. The experts were already adjusting their predictions to advance the Hounds even quicker to the OHL final. But a wise coach once said, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." The Otters were the ones bringing their hard hats to the rink for the next 3 games. The Sioux opened the scoring once again in Game 2 midway through the first, but Erie didn't panic. Pressing late into the period, Travis Dermott kept the puck in the offensive zone. He gave to McDavid, who then set up Dylan Strome for a one-timer that beat Brandon Halverson with seconds remaining in the first. Erie did it again as their power play took to the ice late in the second. McDavid circled behind the net and found Strome at the right wing circle, who quickly snapped the puck past the goaltender as Erie had their first lead of the series. The hard work continued early into the third when Remi Elie stole the puck on the forecheck and found Connor McDavid in the slot to rip his 15th of the postseason and extend the lead to 2. A minute 23 later, the forecheck again outworked the Hounds as Dylan Strome was able to move the puck in front of the goal for Kyle Maximovich to deflect his third of the playoffs past Halverson. Erie kept the pedal down while in the driver's seat as their 3-goal third period drove them to a 5-2 decision, tying the series at 1, heading back to Erie where a raucous crowd was waiting. The spotlight was on Erie, Pennsylvania, as Sportsnet traveled across the border for the first time ever to deliver games from an American team's building, and the city did not disappoint. The Otters had the crowd into the game early as they scored on each of their first 3 shots of the game. Nick Betts deflected a Corey Genovese point shot to open the scoring. Then Connor McDavid tallied his 17th of the playoffs shorthanded. McDavid would add another early in the second period as he was able to sneak the puck past Halverson for a 3-1 lead. Erie would bear down defensively, slowing down the Sioux offense by holding them to just 2 goals. Nick Baptiste would add an empty netter as the Otters claimed Game 3 4-2 to take a 1-game lead in the series. The ice opened up in Game 4 as the teams traded goals back and forth, with Nick Baptiste leading the way for Erie. He'd tie the game at 1 early in the first, allowing Alex DeBrincat to give the Otters their first lead with his shorthanded marker 6 minutes later. The Greyhounds jumped back in the driver's seat with the next 2 goals, but Baptiste's second power play goal of the night would even things at 3. A wild third period was on deck and the Sioux struck first. Jared McCann's early goal gave the Hounds their third lead of the night, but Erie yet again answered in timely fashion. Dylan Strome notched his 9th of the playoffs just 41 seconds later to tie the game at 4. The crowd was buzzing, and it was only a matter of time before Erie struck. McDavid would set up DeBrincat as the Otters regained the lead for good. Just under a minute later, Baptiste would streak down the left wing wall and fire a laser past Halverson for the hat trick, also putting Erie up 2. Baptiste wasn't done yet as he added an empty net goal for his 4th of the night as the Otters took a stranglehold on the conference final 3-1. The Greyhounds found their footing in the comforts of their own building as they were able to live another day with a 4-2 victory in Game 5. The Wayne Gretzky Trophy made the stop at the Erie Insurance Arena as the Otters now had the chance to close out the series at home. Nick Betts again kicked off the scoring on a slick backdoor play with Travis Dermott. With their backs against the walls, the Sioux responded with 2 of their own to take a 2-1 lead. Erie did the same as Jake Marchment scored another momentum-swinging goal in his team's favor to tie the game at 2 in the first period. Erie got their break in the second period when Hayden Verbeek was given 5 and the game for slew-fitting goaltender Devin Williams. That was the wrong power play unit to put on the ice for 5 minutes as the Otters took full advantage. McDavid set up DeBrincat in front to regain a 1-goal lead. A minute and a half later, Connor McDavid stole a pass in the neutral zone and raced in offensively. He circled the net and tucked the puck in behind Halverson to give Erie a 4-2 lead. The sold-out crowd was in a frenzy, knowing their team was 20 minutes away from a conference championship, but the Hounds kept things interesting. Darnell Nurse was able to fire one past Williams after a face-off win to bring them to within 1, but that's the closest they'd get. Erie would once again find themselves with a man advantage, and they took care of business. Baptiste would take a McDavid pass and snipe on past Halverson as the Otters regained their 2-goal lead. It was all insurance from then on when DeBrincat finished off a pretty 3-on-1 passing display with McDavid and Remi Elie. The undrafted rookie would complete the hat trick with an empty net goal with a little under 3 minutes left as the Otters now lead 7-3. Time would wind down and the Erie Insurance Arena erupted as the Erie Otters were Western Conference champions for the first time since 2002. The magical run continued into the OHL Championship against the Oshawa Generals, and although the result wasn't the desired one, this team achieved more than they were supposed to. Critics doubted this Erie Otters team starting the summer before training camp even began. For 9 months, they proved everyone around them wrong by working together and becoming a family on and off the ice. There will be those who graduate to the professional ranks from this squad, but a steady core remains. Erie will return a strong rookie class next season for their sophomore seasons in the OHL. And after another great draft class, the Otters will continue to have fresh legs ready to compete for roster spots come September. One goal brought together an entire city around this special group, something few will ever experience, leaving lasting memories for the rest of their lives.